People often say that there is no off-season in the Eternal City, but of all 7 times that I have visited Rome, November has come closest and been one of my favorite months to be in Italy. So what is Rome in November really like? A few years ago, I spent a month and a half living in Rome for most of November and spanning into December as well. Here's how the city looked on my first day arriving in Rome in November. It was 70 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny, clear blue skies. I went for a walk through Piazza Navona. Had an espresso macchiato at my favorite coffee bar, standing at the bar like the locals do, and then took a stroll over to see Castel Sant'Angelo, one of my favorite landmarks in Rome, at night with the lights on. Weather treated me pretty well for most of my time in Rome. However, this is also rainy season technically, so especially the longer that I stayed, the more rain that I did start to experience, but it was very rare, if at all, that I had a day or days where it rained nonstop. Typically, it would be for some of the day or the night. There was a decent balance between the raininess and the clear sunny skies. Even when it did rain, it felt pretty cozy to be out and about. I do remember there being torrential downpours, maybe 2 or 3 times, but again, it felt fairly sporadic to me. As the month went on, temperatures did of course drop as well, but I never needed the type of thick winter coat that I would in Chicago around the same time of year. So when it comes to what to pack for Rome in November, my recommendation is a pair of fleece-lined leggings. These are really great if you tend to get cold, to put under jeans or trousers to layer under them, or to wear with a dress to transition your dresses to more of a fall look. Some jeans or trousers, of course, and some sweaters in varying degrees of thickness. So I would bring some that are more lightweight, especially for earlier on in the month, and then some thicker ones, and at least one sort of like open cardigan or lighter jacket that's very easy to pull on and off for layering. Scarves, I think, are so versatile for travel, so definitely a scarf. For me, the most important items I packed for Rome in November was, one, my coat. I got this light to mid-weight coat, fleece-lined, waterproof. I needed something that was going to work well for me over a period of months of different weather, so October through December in Europe, and that was going to keep me warm without being too bulky, and this was perfect. And I still have this coat, and this is one of my go-to coats even here in Chicago now. Unfortunately, that exact same coat doesn't seem to be available anymore, but I will link a similar one in the description below in case you want to grab it. And the other staple item for me in terms of what to pack for Rome during this time of year was ankle boots, waterproof, lightweight, not too warm, not like super fleece lined or anything, but something that was a really good walking shoe and comfortable and would also be waterproof, whether for rain or for snow, because this was part of a bigger trip that ended in Germany in December. Okay, so I wanted to be covered for a variety of seasons. I did a lot of shopping around because I was like, I gotta find a comfortable pair of shoes, and that is not always easy for me, and it's something that matters. I ended up finding the pair that I got from Kohl's, and I actually still have them, but I have walked in them so much that I feel them wearing out. I feel like I need to replace them. I don't know if I'll find the same ones again. I doubt it, but I'll see if I can find something similar, and I will link that in the description below as well. In addition to some sort of waterproof shoe, you also for sure need a sturdy sneaker or walking shoe, something with good traction to it. My main point here is bring at least 2 pairs of comfortable walking shoes with you for a couple of reasons. One, you may get caught in a torrential downpour at some point, and in that case, your shoes might need to dry, and you might be wanting to have a second pair to wear while one pair dries. And 2, anytime you're doing a lot of walking, I have found, at least for me, my feet start to hurt if I'm putting them back in the same shoes over and over again, even if they're comfortable shoes. And so I like to have options that I can kind of bounce in between. Having good traction on your shoes is going to be really important. Nothing with a slick sole, because those cobblestones that are so beautiful get super slippery when it rains. So for example, my Allbirds don't cut it. Finally, bring an umbrella or you can buy one from there. Apart from weather, what is Rome like in November in terms of crowds? Well, Rome is never not popular. I found it to be so much calmer in November compared to peak season months. For example, there's a popular coffee shop right near Trevi Fountain that actually has a really fantastic cappuccino. And while I was there in November, I was often going there in the morning, grabbing a cappuccino, and then sitting out admiring the Trevi Fountain. On my more recent trip to Italy in September, there was just not even a chance that that was going to happen. There was a line there constantly, no matter what time of day, and it was just a totally different kind of vibe. In November, I would see concentrated groups of tourists kind of walking around. In September, more recently when I went, it was just haphazard crowds everywhere you look. Yes, there are tourists all year round, but I definitely did feel like November was so much quieter. Plus, in November, you might find it easier to get tickets to various activities and tours that you want to book. Which now brings us to what is there to do in Rome in November? There are some November specific events going on that you could take advantage of if your timing lines up. I have a blog post that details out some of these options for you, which I will link in the description below. But in general, you can experience all that Rome has to offer the same as you would any other time of year. Of course, you'll want to see the Colosseum. It's best to do a guided experience and one that includes access to the underground. I'm putting a QR code on the screen to the exact one that my sister and brother-in-law and niece booked when we were there recently in September. They enjoyed that experience. Often you'll find Colosseum tickets that are paired with access to the Roman Forum, so you definitely want to look for that if you want to be able to do both of those. Right near the Colosseum is Cafe Roma, and if you go there early one day, you can get a coffee and get a little bit of breakfast, sit outside at one of their 2 tables I think that they have out there, and enjoy your breakfast with a view of the Colosseum. Front row seats, so amazing. I did this when I was there in November. And then you can stroll around the beautiful Monti neighborhood because you'll be right there. There's also a park right across from the Colosseum, fairly small, city-sized park, and it's called Parco Celio. And I found it to be really pretty and peaceful. So maybe walk through there. You'll also get some pretty views of the Colosseum framed by trees as you walk through. Rome has plenty of beautiful rooftop bars and restaurants, and on a particularly good weather day, you should definitely take advantage. One quieter one that I enjoyed going to was actually at the top of a department store called Rinascente. Near here is also a coffee shop called Tre Cafe, where you can get American-sized coffees, and in this area are also the Spanish Steps. If you're in this area, I also recommend making your way up and through Villa Borghese Park. It's beautiful, it's huge, sprawling, and also there are some really beautiful views over the city of Rome from up there. Of course, you should go to the Vatican museums and see the Sistine Chapel. I have a post on the best Vatican tour options to help you book the best one. There are some really fun options depending on, are you traveling with kids? Do you want a foodie element? Are you an early riser? Are you someone who wants to go later in the day? So I'm going to put a QR code to that blog post on the screen right now and link to that post in the description as well. Also, Rome has been doing a ton of different updates throughout the city because it's a Jubilee year. One of these is the Piazza Pia, which is a piazza near the Vatican that is now pedestrian only, and they have apparently made it really nice. I haven't seen it yet. Since you'll be in that area, check that out, and then also wander around the nearby Borgo Pio neighborhood, which is supposed to be very beautiful, charming, and historic. This is by no means a comprehensive guide to Rome because there's so much to see and do, and I feel like I'm just kind of telling you as much as I can, but I know I'm just scraping the surface. Like I said, I have been 7 times to Rome, and there is still so much I know I have not seen myself. But some additional things to consider at a high level: consider getting a ticket to go into Castel Sant'Angelo, which is that big beautiful building near the Vatican. A lot of people look at it from the outside, but you can actually go inside, get lost wandering the streets of Trastevere, buy fruit from one of the local markets that you see on the street, eat really, really well. I have a foodie guide for you that I will put a QR code to on the screen and link in description to that blog post of all my favorite places to eat, get coffee, get breakfast, drink, all of that from over the years going to Rome. So you can check that out as well. But one must do is a cooking class. And in particular, the cooking class I did with Marilee, I mean, it lives on. Of all of my trips to Rome and all of the things that I have done there, this stands out in my mind as like my favorite experience. And I think the next time I'm in Rome, which might be when I move there, if you've seen my video about that, I actually want to go back and redo this cooking class and like just hang out with Marilee. She probably doesn't remember me, but it was just that good of an experience. She lives outside of the city center or anywhere else that I have gone in Rome. And so it gives you an excuse to get on the train and get out to a quieter area. You meet her and she'll take you to her local market where she knows everyone, and you pick up the ingredients, and then you go back to her apartment with her. And that's where you have the cooking class, and it's a private cooking class. It was just a beautiful experience, and I highly recommend it. I have my QR code that will take you to the experience so you can book it for yourself, and I have my full review in case you want to read about me gushing about this tour in a blog post, and I will link that in the description below. Another great thing to do in Rome in November is take a day trip to Naples or a longer trip to Florence or Sicily. Rome is a great base, and you should have an easier time finding train tickets on a bit of a whim in November than you would at other times during the year. I mentioned Naples, Florence, and Sicily because those are the most recent day trips that I have done from Rome, so that's what's coming to mind. But another region to consider is going to Umbria, like going to Orvieto for a day. I once took a day trip from Rome to Naples, and actually when I was last in Rome in November, just to eat pizza. I arrived there and there was a marathon going on, and I was there at 10 a.m. to have Naples pizza. Live your life. I have a lot more Rome and Italy focused travel tips, itineraries, mistakes to avoid, general guides on my blog. So head on over there through the links in the description. Rome is probably my favorite city in the world, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.